I think there are a few of you, and welcome to the. Can you all hear me? First of all, just leave some response if you can hear me. And I'm coming live on my phone after a really long time. So, some of you can type it. Should I speak louder, or is this enough? Can you hear well? I think while the others join, we can do the technical stuff. Anybody, Nutan? I think if you are audible, I'm guessing you're all able to hear. Otherwise, I guess you would have said can't hear and stuff like that. So a minute is past doing junk talk. Anyway, so it's been a while since Dhoomam released, and some of you may have seen it in the theater, and some of you have seen it on YouTube recently. And I think usually there are some discussions I would do about my films, but this time the problem was that nobody got to see the film. It didn't stay in the theater much, and it didn't get onto any OTT for a long time. So the only way the audience could see it was once um, it was on YouTube. Yes, the questions I will sort of take it if you type it in, and I can read them and answer them. That's how we will do the Q&A. Um, so yeah, before we get to the Q&A or any kind of questions, a little brief. So don't type in your questions yet because they may get lost in the chat. Maybe for 5-10 minutes, I'll give you a little brief of how the film through and why Dhoomam was even written. So a brief history to this film is that I have always been a non-smoker, and I got into theater and films very early on in my life. So I was about 19 or 20. I was hanging around all the theater events, and I could see that it was a little more casual for people to be smoking, and I wasn't. So I was wondering, hey, I don't want to smoke, and I do not want to, inhale the smoke, but there is no option. So it kind of stayed with me, and then from theater got into movies, and in movies I'm still, we don't have that culture of which corporate companies maybe have, where people step out and smoke. So for me, the idea of what it is to be a passive smoker stayed for a very long time, and I wanted, as I have done many theater work or film work, which has got to do with something very close to me, something which I feel for, and I think this stayed with me for a long time. And somewhere around 2008, roughly 2008 or 9, is when I stumbled upon this idea that, hey, let me make a film or start writing about a film which is to do with tobacco. And I wanted to make it a very. I had seen Anurag Kashyap's No Smoking. I've also seen another Hollywood film called Thank You for Smoking, and I wanted to do something, and I didn't want to do something which is not accessible. So at least the idea that, hey, I should do a film which can be viewed by everybody. So which is why the first very thought when it started off, it was always with the idea that it will be of the popular genre, hence the thriller ride. And hey guys, don't ask me questions yet because I'm not reading them. I'll finish this little monologue for about 10 minutes and then we can get into a Q&A. Okay, so listen, and when I open up, please type in the questions. So yeah, I was saying that I wanted to make the film in such a way that people in towns and villages who are used to a certain popular genre film will watch this, and hence the little thought about tobacco or the questions about tobacco which I personally dealt with would be transferred to the audience. That was the overall basic idea. But what happened was, I kept keeping the thriller point of view very strongly there, and this the first seed to the film was, what if someone who's involved in tobacco has to end up smoking to just live? That is how it started. What if someone has to live to and can only live if they smoke, because it's the opposite, right? You smoke, you die. is the general message that goes on. But I said, what if someone has to smoke to live? And from there, the thought kept brewing. And how do you make that happen? Okay, what if there's a bomb in a guy who actually sells tobacco? He's been the merchant of death. He's been selling tobacco to everybody. But what if it comes and he doesn't smoke? But what if we put him in a situation where he has to smoke to live? What happens then? And that's how the story started. So the first few drafts of the film, I'm guessing everybody here has seen the film. If you haven't, please don't watch this video. Please go back, watch the film, and then come back and listen to this. So now that everyone's seen the film, the first few drafts for a couple of years, the Sid character, which is played by Roshan Matthew in the film, he was the protagonist. The story was about him. So it was about a guy who sells tobacco, the owner of the company, and he has this device installed in him by somebody, and the guy who sells tobacco has to now smoke to stay alive. That's how I started writing it for a very long time. But after a couple of years, what I realized was that hey, it's not working because as we don't feel anything for him, because half the film we have agreed that he's selling cigarettes, which is bad, and so if there's a bomb in him, we feel that he deserves it. So if he's gonna die or anything bad happens to him, we don't really care. And that's when the idea that maybe the owner shouldn't be the one who goes through it, but it's actually somebody like you and me, like a normal guy who's finished his MBA, who's just looking for a job, and who's applied for this job in a tobacco company, and he gets this marketing job and he starts selling cigarettes, who's just like you and me, who's aspirational to get a salary, who's aspirational to make some money, to buy a car, to buy a home, and he's just doing it as a job. And he's met with the situation where the bomb is put in him, and then what will he do? So that's when the character of Avinash created, which was played by Fahad Fasil. And he so it became from the owner, the bomb shifted to the employee, so that he's just like you and me. And what happens? And then, because a love story was part of the whole film, and because I was trying to make it a popular genre film, I there was going to be a love story, so that it's like viewed. I didn't want to make a documentary or very alienated parallel cinema, and so then when I was writing it with Avinash being an employee and he has the bomb, the first thing the hero or the protagonist, as we call him, will do is he'll go away from the girl. He will not be with the girl. He will not be with the one who he loves because now he's got a bomb. The first thing he'll do is protect the girl. So my love story went out, which means that how do I write the film where the guy has the bomb in him, but the girl is also with him in the journey? Because if my girlfriend has a bomb, the first thing I'll do is I'll go away from her. I'll not stay with her. So I was not able to write the story in such a way where the girl is with him constantly, right? He will make sure that he goes off. Um, so then came the third idea, which was that hey, what if the bomb is in the girl? And it kind of also thematically worked because the ones who are selling tobacco, the ones who are smoking, are doing it on their own choice. But the one who is passively smoking, who has no choice, is the one who's troubled, and which is the girlfriend. The girlfriend had nothing to do with, the tobacco or anything, but she has the bomb in her. And that suddenly changed the whole script because now it thematically made sense that a passive smoker, which is what for me the theme of the film was, and then the bomb being in the girl suddenly gave a beautiful interpretation to it. And also, it brought into the place that now the hero, who is actually done all the work, who sold tobacco, but nothing happened to him. But what happened to his the girl he loves, and damn, now he has to do everything in the world to protect her, right? So that's how it started, and that's when the whole new draft, after like 4 or 5 years of living with the script, completely changed. That the girl will have the bomb in her, and what will he do going around it? So that's a little history of how the film, at the core, started for me. And also, the second big shift happened when, for the longest time, I wanted to make the film for many years, many years. I wanted to make the film very linear. If you see Lucia, or if you see U-Turn, or even if you see my earlier film Life Ustene, I have done non-linear screenplays where film starts somewhere and then it goes back, comes back, and it's fun. But I kind of felt that after a point it was very easy to do non-linear screenplays. What I really liked was the fact that you how Godfather is, or many classic films which are linear, and it's very hard to do linear films, very hard to write linear films. So for one of the biggest thing that I gave myself as a challenge was that I wanted to do Dhoomam as a linear film, where the film starts with Avinash finding a job, meeting the girlfriend, and then getting into the job, doing better at work. So the interval or the midpoint of the film was going to be the beginning of what you see now in the film, which is where the midpoint is when the bomb is installed in the body, and the second half of the film was going to be about how do they get the bomb out of the body and how do they resolve the conflict. For the longest time, I liked this screenplay. I stuck to it, and finally, there was a time when the film was going to be made in Hindi. It was almost all signed up and stuff, long back. And I started writing the dialogues. When I started writing the dialogues, I figured that it was too long. If I have to put in all the content that I had written in my as scenes in my head, as all the things that I wanted to communicate, then it would become a 5-hour film. There was no way I could have told the whole story linearly and still communicate everything. And that's when I had to make the decision of going back to saying it in non-linear format. And so we went back to that. I took the second half of the film, which was, from where the bomb is already installed or set in the body, and make that the entire film, and take all the past as flashbacks. So I could take only the primary important key scenes and insert them between the film as this goes forward. So that's what you saw as the final film. And that's roughly the history of how Dhoomam got written. And it was fun. So I think I'll take 3 more minutes before I take questions. So when I started showing the screenplay around of the non-linear narrative and how it was a thriller ride, everybody who read it, there was very positive responses, and no wonder we got Fahad on board, we got Aparna, we got Roshan. Everybody had read the script. We got all the technical crew, and I like to pass the script around. I don't really hold it. I like to take feedback. So it was very interesting how everybody, when we read the script, we felt that hey, this is a great screenplay. It has that thriller pacey thing going because of the whole bomb narrative. However, it also in between keeps exploring uh, uh, it keeps exploring the past as to why is this guy in this problem right now, and it gives a hint to the audience as to how what did he do way back in his job that he has ended up in this mess. And so the screenplay kept answering. If you go back and visit the film, or now that it's on YouTube, you can go watch it anywhere. Every alternate scene that it keeps going in, it keeps resolving why did he get here. There are so that's how the film got structured when we getting into dialogues and all that. um, so yeah, and yeah, for us, till we made the film, till we actually completed the film, and a film doesn't get done just by me, right? There are like hundreds of people working on it, and hundreds of people who know the script, hundreds of people who have seen the film at least 500 times. There is grading, there's sound design. So we went through this experience till the day it released, where we thought the film was communicating in a very engaging manner, and I think to some it still is. To a larger population, it isn't, and it's probably too slow for some, or too not too entertaining for some. Maybe for some it is insightful. So different people take different things from a movie. So yeah, and the day we released, which was June 23rd, 2023, Mm, we were, at least, I was extremely kind of confident that we had made a very insightful, great film because that's the kind of energy that we got from everyone we showed the film to. But yeah, it didn't open to great reviews, and it didn't open to great box office numbers. And it did come to me as a shocker because, hey, I experienced something else just 24 hours before, and how come it changed when we put it out there in the market? But that's what happened. And now that it's out on YouTube and about 25 million people have watched, sorry, yeah, 25 million? Two, sorry, 2.5 million people have watched it on YouTube, and I'm guessing another 3, 4 would have seen it elsewhere. That's a great way for me as at least a writer. For me, it was nice to see that the thought of what I wanted to tell in the film has passed on to these many people, and they're watching it. So that's that. Now, probably a few questions, and um, then so you can start typing in questions now, and whatever I can pick up in this chat, I will start answering. Okay, so what attracts you to the story and in the um, so let's talk more about Dhoomam. Whoever is asking questions specifically Dhoomam related would be great because that's what this session is about. Anything else you can ignore. So Vishwas says that thanks for the film. It worked for me totally. Why do you think that the film didn't work for the Malayalam audience, provided they generally have a? I have no idea. I have no idea why the film theatrically didn't work, or so I have heard from people uh, um, um that the film felt a bit boring. Which now after a year, I do have a way to. Just a second, someone's at the door. ನಾನು ನಿಮ್ಗೆ ಆಮೇಲೆ ಮಾಡ್ತೀನಿ ಕೃಷ್ಣ. ಬೇಡ ಬೇಡ. Sorry, I'm at the farm, so they want to ask me something. Yeah. So yeah, this session is in English because some of you are asking for Kannada. Is because the film is in Malayalam and many other languages. So I'm guessing different people want to hear this. So let me go, guys. If you type in too many questions, I won't be able to answer. So let me just answer. Some felt it was boring, or many felt it was boring. I think I personally wanted to make a film which was very strong on content. I was not trying to entertain. I was trying to make it engaging for sure, which we thought we did. And for me, the journey. So one thing which now I look back in 1 year, and I feel one thing could have fixed the film in a much. This is for people who write for students and all that. There is a scene in the beginning of the film, about 5 6 minutes into the film, where Avinash Fad character, Avinash, who comes out of the car and is looking for his wife, and he finds her lying on the rock, and then he's trying to wake her up. He says, "Dia, dia, dia," and she doesn't wake up, and then a phone ring comes in, right? The caller, the guy who's the big master plan in the whole thing. So he calls, and when he answers the call, what I've done is I've not played out the audio of that guy. So for me, after the film released, it suddenly occurred only after the release that maybe if the audience knew what the threat was, the film would have played out very differently. For example, now for the film buffs here, so when you see the film, you are thinking, hey, he came out of the car, he answered the call, the car exploded, so that's a big threat, something fishy, something scary is happening. Then he gets a call again. And then if you go back to YouTube and watch the film, he answers it, but we don't play what the voice said. Because when I wrote the screenplay, in my head, I wanted the audience to be like Dia, who don't know what is happening, right? Dia is sleeping, so I mean unconscious, so she doesn't know, and everything that she is discovering is what the audience is also discovering, and that's how the screenplay became the way it is, which is that she wakes up, and now the question is. So if you see, Avinash answers the call, so he got to know something because he's panicking, he's scared, and the timer goes on. So it says that there is some whatever, I forgot how many hours. There is 24 hours, I think. So the timer goes on, and So the audience kind of get to know that shit, something's off because the car exploded and the timer went on. So we, having been so much into movies, think think that okay, timer and a car explosion means there's something big, threatening, life threatening there. And then Avinash's character goes somewhere to the factory. He then brings Diya over there and is trying to make call, and he says, "I need some money." So then we think, okay, they're in a hostage situation. Maybe if he doesn't give the money, he will be in a bigger problem. So we go into that sort of a discussion, and slowly, as Dia wakes up, and when Dia is answering, she keeps on asking questions, which I heard was very annoying for a lot of people. But for me, Dia was the audience. So as the audience are asking questions, hey, what is happening? What is happening? It is represented by Dia, who is also asking questions, and hence the story is slowly unwrapped. Like a package. Tuck, 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 you keep opening things up. So for me, the fact that the existence of the bomb is hidden was a very exciting idea that I'm going to reveal it much later. But what happened instead was, which I learned later, is the audience started figuring what the fuck is happening. Right? They're like, what is happening? Because now they know something is hidden, something is revealing. So I think it was a very similar feeling of what Dia was going through, which is what the audience went through, which is that shit, I don't know what's happening. Now I feel if I'm given a chance to go back to June 22nd of 2023, I think I would wake up everybody in my team and I would reveal what the caller said. So there's a very interesting theory which you guys may have seen, especially the screenwriters and everyone, um, of Alfred Hitchcock about the bomb reveal, right? So he says that if two people are sitting across a table and they are talking, and you're shooting the scene, and the scene is 10 minutes long, and at the end of the scene, you bring the camera down and reveal that there is a bomb there. Okay. Now, that is one way of showing it. Instead, if you start the scene by showing the bomb and then taking the camera up and then show the conversation, the same scene will be much more engaging. Now, I think that's what Dhoomam would have been if I had put that voice of the caller in the beginning, wherein you, the audience, right in the beginning of the film, know that there is a bomb and it's going to explode if certain money is not given. If you knew that right in the beginning, I think the whole process of watching the film would have been a bit different, because in your head, you're not trying to be wondering, hey, where is the film going? Instead, it would have been, should I know where the film is going? Should there is a bomb, and what is he going to do to save her? So as Fahad's character Avinash is exploring what to do, you would have traveled with him. Instead, we made you travel with Dia, which I think was confusing or seemed very draggy. So that's my learning, that I should have placed that phone call right in the beginning and made you aware right from the beginning that there is a bomb, and only you and Avinash know about its existence, right? And if you both knew, the whole film would have appeared very different. So you can go back to the YouTube video, the movie, and then you can probably see how, if you knew, now that you know that there is a bomb, just see the film, maybe the experience is a bit different. Um, so that was one major learning for me, that always, like Alfred Hitchcock, the boss has told you, reveal the bomb, don't hide it. Also, what happens, I think, is what I was trying to do was, yeah, I think that was the one. I taking you guys from Dia's point of view is where it went down. If I had taken you guys from Avinash's point of view, the film would have been very, very engaging and interesting, more interesting than it is right now. That was my big learning on that. Okay, now let me go for some question. I'll just scroll and randomly pick something. I hope people who are asking about the film, okay, nothing about Dvitva, nothing about anything else. Um, but I want to talk more about the craft than the release, box office, marketing, and all that. So I'm going to be picking up questions which deal with that. Okay. Mm, ending. Many have a question about the ending of the film. Now, ending was actually okay. Now, let's come to the guy who placed the bomb, right? So, an interesting info about that would be for many, many drafts, even after Dhoomam Dhamal Malayalam was decided and all the actors were signed up, even then, the draft that I had, the ending was that Avinash actually meets the guy, meets the whatever the army guy that he was. In the beginning, we show you something, right? There was an army sequence in the Chinese thing. Um, so we kind of commando guy, right, who is into a bomb thing. So we the scene was at the end. He actually confronts him. He meets him, and there is a scene where this guy tells him why he did what he did. It was a scene in the living room, and I was very, very inspired by a very Tarantino-ish kind of a treatment where it will be all conversation. Like example, the end of Kill Bill 2, wherein the bride meets Bill, and how we all thought that will be a massive massacre scene, but it's actually a conversation. So in my head, I used to be thinking that when they meet, the guy who's placed the bomb at the end, the conversation will be nice. But I kept, but somehow it always was a letdown. For me, the fact that you meet the guy who's done it suddenly detaches you from the film, because all of us are him, right? All of us are victims of tobacco at some point. So this idea came to me that what if I don't show him? What if I don't reveal him at all? Like we don't assign a face, we don't assign a character to who that is. Then there is a possibility that that person could be me, that person could be you, that person could be anybody who's a victim to the effects of tobacco. And that started seeming very interesting, that you don't show the person at all, you just give him a voice, because then that becomes the voice of all of us. And hence and all of us got very excited when I told the team that, hey, I have this entirely last 15 minutes written very differently, and everybody read it and they liked the idea that we now don't have a face to it, and we don't have to shoot that scene, which was actually getting also very tricky. We can make it very interesting, where it's a phone call in an empty house. So for me, in my head, the idea that after all that journey, he takes the money, he goes to different houses, he goes to a hospital. There's a clock ticking, and she's constantly smoking to add more time to the clock. And in all this journey, they finally go, and you think something big is going to be revealed, but it's an empty house with an empty cradle, where tobacco's effect was that the entire home is cleaned up, the end of somebody's entire family. So it was all very metaphorical, and you build it and you go to this, like how in Kill Bill, that sort of a feeling that you have these amazing kills for two parts, and Bill is a conversation. So I was very sort of, I think, at the back of the mind, I've always loved that scene. So for me, the idea that let's take him to a house which is empty, and it only has it, and the idea of an empty cradle is very disturbing, right? That's what we all felt, that house which is wiped out, and what it has is, there's so many questions, I don't think I can take so many. Yeah, so what it has is an empty cradle. I thought it was very emotionally disturbing, especially when Dia knows that she is pregnant. It is like, you who sold cigarettes and made a great living and have all that, and your own wife is now pregnant, which you don't know about, and she knows that, and what she's seeing is an empty cradle because a baby died. So I thought these conflicts would be very, very interesting. And so now, heading to the climax. So for the longest time, for me, the climax was, should I make it cinematic or should I make it realistic? Now, cinematic would be where Avinash, who's the hero of the film, will go into the public and be a whistleblower, will talk about it, will talk about all the things he's done. But what can it do, right? In a very cinematic world, he can shut the company down. In the most very larger than life cinematic world, nobody's going to quit tobacco. I mean, the realities are very different. It's not that the government will ban tobacco altogether. So the hero can't do any of it. And hence my realistic take on it was that we uh, we can't do much. The tobacco industry is way too big. It's too big. There is nothing any, and the government, everybody benefits from it. The taxes which the government gets is useful to do many other things. So I wanted to get to an end and say that Avinash's character was only attempting to bring a little truth out, which is where there is that line, the truth about the truth in the end scene when he and Satya are talking in the car. He says, who wants the truth, right? But he uses this little video, and he thinks that if I put this out, then at least his company, the I think I forgot the name of the company which Roshan owns. He says that at least TTL, yeah, TTL. So he can at least shut that company down, and that would be some small little achievement. And if you see, that's what we as common people can do. We can probably at the most bring some reality out, probably shut one company down because there is murder and a lot of bad things happening in it, but you can't cut the whole industry down. So that's what he decides to do, or thinks he can do. And at the end, the fact that tobacco kills is what I wanted to get to. There's no way you can fight it. And what I felt we were going to try with the end is that, hey, you are on your own as an audience. Nobody is going to come and save you. If you look at it, every film where the hero beats up 200 people, we in our mind think that, hey, the hero will save us, right? When Captain America or Iron Man or Spider-Man or any of our Indian heroes kill 200 people and beat them up, subconsciously we feel that the hero will take care of us. But in reality, in a film like Dhoomam, or a film where it is exploring the world of tobacco, nobody is going to take care of you. There is no hero. I mean, everybody will shut those voices down. So the only person who can take care of you is yourself. So that's what I was trying to get at. That whoever tries to speak the truth out, they'll be silenced. Whoever tries to bring more truth to you. So the only reality is that you have the power to quit. You have the power to stop somebody in your family from smoking. So that is what we were trying to get from the end. um, that there is no respite. There is nobody coming and saving you. Okay, so what was the idea of the intro? Why the military, with the military? Because that's the question I'm seeing right now. So the idea was to somehow establish the fact that a bomb can exist, like a Chinese spy having a bomb in his body, which is triggered by smoking, exists. So to put that little thought in your head, and also to give a little intro to the guy who may have done this, because he says at the end, right? I have been the he works for the army, and he's he's neutralized. He works for the black ops rather, and he's taken care of the country, and so it was a little connect that the guy in the beginning could be the guy who actually did it, because he's actually come in live terms with the bomb. The smoking girl's point of view was on point, especially in the baby dies. Was that always on the script? Did you improv that later? No, the girl who smokes while the baby is there, it was all written the way you see it. It was always there, the way. What was the most difficult scene to write in Dhoomam? The most difficult scene for me is that interaction, which eventually became a phone call in the house. That was the trickiest, because you can't be too preachy, you can't be too boring, yet you have to keep it interesting. It is the most difficult scene to write. I think I took many rewrites to go back and work on that part. How to keep it crisp, because we are giving that guy, the Black Ops guy who's placed the bomb, a voice only at the end of the film, and he has to say so much because he has to complete all the questions, circle around everything. So that was the tricky scene, how to keep it very crisp and to the point. And also, there is an audience fatigue. They have watched the film for 2 hours and they want to be done. At that point, how do you keep the most important scene and yet make it emotional, yet make it informative? So that was the most tricky scene to write. Um, Yeah, so I mean, see, there are many people who are saying blah blah blah. I mean, I just hope that don't be rude. I mean, you don't like it, you don't like it. You don't have to be, you will also F up someday with something. So, something genuinely you want to ask, please ask. I shall be very happy to answer those. Have you ever smoked once in your life? No, I haven't. I've never smoked in my life. I have passive smoked because of all the people I've worked with, but now I don't do that either. So there are many times I've been offered characters to play, and then they say, "But you'll have to smoke," and I've rejected them. I've said, "Please find someone else. I won't do it, even for my work purpose." Um, why was made the instead of Roshan? I think Vinay Menak, I think I answered it. If you go back to the beginning of the video, why was Fahad's role made the protagonist and not Roshan? I have answered it, but very to quickly tell you because you won't gain sympathy for Roshan's character, Sid, because you feel like if there's a bomb in him dying, he deserves it. That's how you see it. But I wanted to make the audience feel sympathetic for a character, saying that shit, why is there a bomb? Oh my God, how do we save this character? Wanted you to travel with that line, and which is why we put it in Dia because she's the innocent in the whole picture. She did nothing, right? And but she got punished like a passive smoker. That was the reason why we went there. I'm just picking up questions. What was the one liner for Dhoomam? It was the one liner which kept me excited for years was that what if a guy who's into selling tobacco, who doesn't smoke, has to smoke to live? So that someone who has to smoke to live was the one liner which kept getting, because everybody says if you smoke you die, but what if somebody has to smoke to stay alive? And from there the story went on. I'm just picking up questions again. Shorter the questions, easier to read. What was the idea? Military, I answered. Yeah, so if I also somewhere didn't want to in the film say don't smoke, if you see nobody is talking about it, I was only using all the realities. For example, how before every movie you have to watch those anti-tobacco ads in the theater, and every time there is a cigarette on screen there is a little disclaimer that comes up. As a filmmaker, it annoys me that disturbance is put in there, right? Because I would have taken so much effort to create a scene, and just because I have made this character who smokes, I have to put that disclaimer, and as an audience your eyes are going to go there, right? So I have tried, or any other filmmaker in the whole world is trying so hard to get your attention, to be with the characters, to be with the film, to draw you into that world, but the bureaucracy wants you to read the disclaimer as though that disclaimer is going to make you quit smoking, right? So it's this is what I find very very weird, that it is sold, it is openly available. There is so much tax that you're making, but you want to go behind soft targets like films and say that now put a disclaimer, now put the most scary looking ads, like they make any difference. So which is what I used as a scene in the film, right? So now imagine in a movie theater, there are all non-smokers, there are kids watching and everything. You have no idea of what tobacco is probably, but you forcibly are making them watch it and giving them the idea that, hey, this exists, right? So for me, I find it very bizarre that those things happen. And so some of the ideas that we have tackled into the film, which comes all in the flashbacks, are all realities, or all which is how, I mean, imagine a product which cannot be advertised, which cannot print a poster, which cannot print an ad, which in fact on the package has to put ugly images of how bad the cancer can be, but it still makes money year after year. So there must be something amazing that is happening in the background, for otherwise it's so hard to market something. So for me, those things really drove to tell you, the audience, that are you thinking? Are you are you wondering how this happens? I think climax I've covered. Are there any new questions? Okay. So if there's any question, I'll take it, or I think we are done. I have nothing more to add. I'm not going to answer about Dvitva. Nandini, why was there no climax bang? I felt that Avinash was not punished enough. Okay. For us, him dying, knowing that he's going to be a father, and knowing that his wife is pregnant, but she has a ticking bomb inside her, knowing that and dying, um, felt like punishment enough. And rather, he was also reforming. He had quit his job. He wanted to stop doing what he's done, and he was very sad about all the things he's done. He was repenting. So somewhere I felt that, yeah, that it's like also it was a bit metaphorical. If you go back and watch the end scenes, it was a metaphorical thing to also smoking, right? You keep smoking all your life, you're fine, but suddenly your life is cut short one day. And that's how abrupt I wanted that film to be, because things are going, you're planning and everything, but it just the, the plug is pulled on you. And there were nice visual metaphors that we thought we got. If you see, there's a little thing burning, and also there was something which I like doing, which maybe now I learn that maybe the audience are not so engaged sometimes, where they want to put all the things together. I like leaving questions or leaving hints of the story which you can piece together and understand it. It's fun to do it. Um, so there are many things. If you go, instead of saying, "Oh shit, the end didn't work. What a dumb idiot to make an end like this," just ask, "Why would they have done the end like this?" I think what is interesting about audience, which or any art form of how an art form is consumed, is that the audience very quickly judge that, hey, I didn't understand it, so it must be dumb, it must be horrible. There was a time when we were all in a generation where we felt that, hey, if we didn't understand something, it means that something's wrong with us. We got to put in some more effort to piece things together. But we've changed. We are in an era where if it is not fed to the audience in a very easy format of understanding, they feel that the whole thing is wrong. So, and sometimes maybe it's true, I don't know. But at least in my film, what I was trying to do was that I was trying to leave a couple of puzzles and questions where I felt the audience also travel and put things together, and that kind of brings out interpretations. For me, the end was where the audience was supposed to talk with each other and say, what, that detail and this detail, and oh, that's what they meant. Oh, that thing at the end where Dia dies and there's a focus shift to an angel, and that angel is there. You can go back and watch this shot, and then it slowly crossfades into something burning, right? The angel who's covering her eyes, and that is burning, and that thing that is burning is in the shape of a cigarette, and it's burning, and the smoke which goes on, and when it goes blackout, you still read that little disclaimer which says tobacco kills, and that's what happened 10 seconds ago, where everybody got killed because of tobacco. And was that the end scene? The ones who have sat beyond that also see that the cop, who was the only guy who was trying to get to the truth uh, outside the system, gets the iPhone which has the video, and the open ending was that, hey, what if he can crack it? What if he can actually get the video out? So that was my little hope, that if he gets the video out, that means that Roshan Sid character killing somebody comes out, and that will really, end the company. So the cop seeing the phone and trying to get the video out was the little hope to, hey, maybe we will be spared from this. Okay, and I think that's about it. It was great interacting. At least that's all the questions I could get. Um, Uh, no more technical story related questions that I see. Mm, yeah, that's about it. Thank you for watching, and I hope for at least the film buffs, this session was something insightful. Yeah, so like I said, the last few minutes is that I think the learning is that show the bomb and make the audience travel with you on how you crack it. I think that's something that I'll remember. And the other bit is that don't assume the audience will put 1 plus 1 plus 1 and arrive at 3. Sometimes you have to show three. There are a couple of, and I think one thing is I hid many things. If I'm given an opportunity to go back and edit this film, I would reveal one or two things rather than hiding it. That would make the film more easier and accessible to the audience. Yeah, that's about it. And I think every piece of work is a learning to do something interesting next. So, and I'm glad that all of you have watched this video and it was of some help, something insightful as a film buff or a film learner as to what happened with who. Thank you and have a great night. Good night and see you all. And do share the film link. It's on YouTube now. All languages should be coming out. Kannada and Malayalam on it. And do share it with people you think may like the film. And once they see the film, maybe you can share this video so that they can understand what went behind it. Okay. See you all. So I'm going to end this session now. Bye. Thank you.